A window seat, 3A. Business class humming, lids of laptops, a quiet clink of glass, the press of bodies settling. Robert sat there in a charcoal suit, no tie, a black backpack by his shoes. He checked Grant Equity's quarterly numbers, closed the laptop, and sank back. The lead attendant arrived. The name tag said David. His gaze slid over Robert, slowed, and hardened. "Sir, I need you to move to another seat." Robert looked up. "I booked 3A 3 weeks ago." "We have a VIP who needs it. You'll be in 5B." A familiar weight settled in Robert's chest. He'd worn it for years through rooms that asked him to shrink. "I paid for this seat," he said. "I'm staying." David's jaw shifted. "Sir, I don't think you want to make this difficult." Micro turned, a question. Difficult for whom? Robert unlocked his phone. He opened the voice recorder and set it on the armrest. Boots thudded behind him. A voice carried. "Where's my seat?" William entered like the aisle belonged to him. Tall, silver hair precise, Rolex glinting under the LEDs. Navy blazer, white shirt, the stride of someone rarely told no. His eyes hit 3A, then Robert. "That's my seat," he said, pointing. David moved fast. "Mr. Crane, we're handling it." Robert didn't stand. He met William's stare, then looked back to David. "I'm not moving." William's face tightened. "Excuse me?" "I reserved this seat," Robert said even. "I paid for it." William gave a short, airy laugh. "Do you know who I am?" "No." "William. Crane Development. I spend over $300 million a year with this airline." He stepped in. "And you're in my seat." "Then you should have reserved it," Robert said. The cabin thinned to silence. A woman in 4C whispered to her partner. A man in 2A shook his head. A few phones angled up, small black eyes recording. David cleared his throat. "Sir, Mr. Crane has been platinum for 15 years. If you could just—" "I'm not moving," Robert said again. Micro turn. Contrast loyalty points versus a paid boarding pass. Which counts today? William scanned the rows like the room should vote with him. "This is unbelievable. You people always—" He clipped the words. Too late. Robert felt the shift, the unsaid in the air. He'd breathed it before, on a Boeing floor where a supervisor handed him a mop minutes before he was to present a propulsion design. In investor meetings where venture capitalists asked who he worked for, unable to imagine founder. At host stands where his reservation somehow vanished. He had learned the quiet art of not flinching. "Mr. Crane," Robert said low, "you're used to getting what you want. Not today." Color rose in William's cheeks. He turned to David. "Get him out of that seat, now." David's eyes bounced between them. Then he raised his radio. "Supervisor to gate 24A." Robert slipped his phone from his pocket again. Not for ID, for proof. He typed, "Barbara, Flight 447 SFO JFK. Situation escalating, recording everything. Stand by." He hit send. Barbara, his general counsel, would know next moves. Micro turn, image outside the window. The tarmac stretched gray and endless. Fuel trucks nosing along like slow fish. Baggage carts weaving their patterns. Inside, stillness. Robert kept his gaze on the glass. Normal work churned beyond the hull, as if nothing inside had tilted. But it had. It had for a long time. David spoke into the radio, voice low and urgent. Whispers slid through the cabin. William blocked the aisle, arms locked across his chest, anger humming off him. Robert stayed planted, steady. A supervisor appeared in roughly 3 minutes. 40s, dark hair cinched into a bun, navy jacket marked with 4 gold stripes. The tag read M. Joshua, cabin manager. Tablet ready, she wore a smooth, practiced smile. "Good afternoon. I'm told there's a seat dispute." William spoke first. "He's in my seat, platinum for 15 years. "Mr. Crane," Joshua answered gently. "I'm familiar with your profile." Her fingers traced the screen. She turned to Robert. "May I see your boarding pass?" He handed it over. Scan, compare. A second glance. Her face stayed neutral, but a flicker crossed her eyes. Seat 3A was booked 22 days ago, she said. Paid in full. Business confirmed. Fine, William snapped. Put him in 5B, exit row. Better anyway. Joshua looked back to Robert. Sir, would you consider... No. The word landed clean. Her smile thinned. We're working toward a solution acceptable to everyone. I've got one, Robert replied. I keep the seat I purchased. David edged close, his voice turned confidential. We can offer a $500 voucher and complimentary upgrades on your next 3 flights. I don't want a voucher, Robert said. I want the seat I paid for. William let out a hard, dismissive laugh. Of course, first time up here? First time someone offers a voucher? You think this proves something? Heat rose, but Robert's tone stayed even. Mr. Crane, I've flown business more times than I can count. That isn't the issue. Micro turn. Question. If status outranks a confirmed ticket, what exactly are we buying? William bristled. Then what is the issue? I'm being asked to give up something I purchased because someone else wants it more, Robert said. And I'm asking whether I'd be asked to move if I didn't look the way I do. Silence held. Color crept into Joshua's face. Sir, this isn't about... Then why am I the only one asked to move? Robert said softly. Why not Mr. Crane? Why not someone else? David started to speak, thought better of it. Joshua stared at the tablet as if it might supply an answer. Don't pull that card, William shot back. This isn't about race, it's loyalty. I've spent millions with this airline. What have you spent? Thousands? Robert didn't bite. He glanced at his phone. A text from Barbara. Recording everything. Another. Good. Don't engage. Let them talk. And then, I'm calling Christopher now. Micro turn. Contrast 3 spare lines on a screen against years of quiet, lopsided exceptions. Christopher, CEO of Patriot Airlines, had shaken Robert's hand 3 times. 2 boardrooms, 1 gala. He didn't know Robert well. He knew Grant Equity. He knew the 18% it held in the company. And he was about to learn what was unfolding on Flight 447. Robert set the phone on the tray table, screen up. The voice recorder ticked on. 12 minutes. Joshua cleared her throat. Sir, one last time. Will you accept the alternate seat? No. Then I'll have to involve airport security. William smiled without warmth. Finally, get him off. Robert leaned back, laced his fingers together, and waited. Security reached the cabin in under 5 minutes. 2 officers in black uniforms came down the aisle, radios crackling on their hips, moving with the practiced economy of people who handle non-compliant cases every day. The older officer reached them first. A white man, 50s, gray stubble, eyes worn thin. Gentlemen, what's happening here? Joshua stepped in. This passenger isn't complying with the crew-directed seat change. He studied Robert, then William, then returned to Robert. His gaze stayed a beat too long. Sir, are you refusing a crew instruction? I'm refusing to surrender a seat I reserved and paid for, Robert said, even. The officer looked to Joshua. Is his ticket valid? Yes, she said at last. But we're accommodating a priority passenger. How is he priority? The younger officer asked. Latino, mid-30s, voice curious rather than sharp. William took half a step forward. William Crane Development. Platinum 15 years. Over $300 million annually on travel. I asked for this seat and I expect... You didn't reserve it, Robert said quietly. William flushed. Are you really lecturing me about reservations? You think a pile of miles or some discount fare buys you the same rights as someone who actually supports this airline? I paid for this seat 3 weeks ago, Robert answered. That gives me the right to sit in it. This is absurd, William told the officers. Just remove him. He's disrupting the flight. The older officer exhaled. Sir, if his ticket is... I don't care if it's valid, William cut in, voice rising. I'm a paying customer. I'm someone who matters to this airline. I want him removed. Micro turn. Contrast. Someone who matters. And someone implied not to. The cabin seemed to shrink. Stares pressed in, some sympathetic, some not. The man in 3C muttered under his breath. 2 rows back, a phone camera hovered. A white woman in a business suit looked away, as if ashamed to watch. David leaned toward the older officer, voice lowered. We just need this resolved. The passenger is non-compliant. We can deny boarding if someone refuses crew instructions. He's already boarded, the younger officer noted. Then we can remove him, David said, firmer now. Something tightened in Robert's chest. Not fear, not heat. Colder. The familiar weight of being told in a dozen small ways, you don't belong. He remembered the first cut. Age 12, Detroit, a department store with his mother. A guard shadowed them for 3 aisles until his mother finally turned. We're just shopping. Is that allowed? Boeing surfaced next. Week 1 as a junior engineer. A senior manager saw the calculations on his screen and asked, Whose work is that? Who are you covering for? Then fundraising for grant equity. Conference room smiles. We'd love to meet the actual founder. As if the assistant had wandered into the wrong chair. He had stayed steady, professional, again and again. And now the same groove. Micro turn. Question. How many times can proof be offered before proof becomes the trap? The older officer shifted, uneasy. Sir, I'm going to ask once more. Will you move to a different seat? No. Then we'll have to escort you off the aircraft. William's smile sharpened. Thank you, finally. Robert lifted a hand toward his jacket. Slow, deliberate. The officer stiffened, hands near their belts. He brought out his phone and angled the screen so they could see. I've been recording this entire interaction, he said, calm and clear. Every word, every action. For the record. Joshua blanched. Sir, you can't. I can, Robert replied. And I already did. He tilted the phone. Copies are with my attorneys. They're assessing contract terms, consumer protections, and possible civil rights violations, he added. The older officer frowned. Civil rights? I'm being pressed to surrender a paid, confirmed seat, Robert said. No one else has been asked. The only obvious difference between me and everyone around us is my skin. That makes it civil rights. William's laugh was sharp and joyless. Here we go, play the race card. That's what you people do when things don't go your way. Micro turn. Contrast, you people. 2 words that draw a line down the aisle. A hush spread. The younger officer shifted. Gasps. The woman with the phone lifted her camera toward William. Robert didn't bite. He'd learned the most effective answer wasn't anger, it was record, verify, preserve. He looked from David to Joshua to the officers. I'm not moving. If you intend to remove me, you'll have to put hands on me. Every second is being captured, will be uploaded and reviewed by lawyers, reporters, and federal regulators. He let the words settle. So ask yourselves, is this really the hill to die on just to seat him? Silence. Joshua glanced at David. David glanced at the officers. The officers looked at each other. What's happening back here? A new voice cut cleanly through the cabin. Captain Stevens stood at the bulkhead. Late 50s, white, gray hair cropped close. 4 stripes on each shoulder, wings above his pocket. 30 years of commercial flying etched into his posture. He swept the scene at 3A, security, attendants, an irate billionaire, and a black passenger sitting still with folded hands. Explain, Stevens said. We're 28 minutes behind. Joshua stepped forward. Captain, we have a customer refusing a seat reassignment. We've tried to resolve it, but... Who asked for the reassignment? Stevens said. Mr. Crane, sir. He's platinum. I didn't ask about status. Stevens' tone stayed even. Who requested it? A beat. Mr. Crane requested 3A, Joshua admitted. The current passenger's ticket is valid. We were trying to accommodate. Then there's nothing to accommodate, Stevens said. Valid ticket stays. William pushed in. Captain, do you know who I am? Should I? Stephen asked. William. Crane Development. I spend $300 million a year on this airline. I'm calling Christopher the second we land, maybe sooner, since your crew doesn't seem to understand priority customers. Stephen didn't blink. Mr. Crane, spend $3 billion. Doesn't matter. If you didn't reserve the seat, it isn't yours. This is outrageous, William said. I've flown Patriot 15 years. I've never been treated like this. I've flown 30, Stephen answered. I've never seen a passenger demand another person's seat. He turned to the officers. Are we done? The older officer nodded. Stephen added, Captain says the passenger remains. He remains. Micro turn. Question. What is authority for if not to keep the line where the rule is? William's voice climbed. So, you're just going to let him sit there after everything I've told you? Yes, Stephen said. This is discrimination, William shouted. You're discriminating against me because I'm... He cut himself off, but the meaning hung. A young black woman in 4A gave a short, disbelieving laugh. Someone else muttered, Unbelievable. William rounded on the rose. You think this is funny? You think it's fine to treat loyal customers like trash while people who probably can't even afford to be here get priority? The woman arched an eyebrow. Can't afford to be here? Really? Yeah, really, William snapped. I earned my place. What's he done? Miles, some charity upgrade? And now he acts entitled to... Mr. Crane, Stephen said, cutting in, voice sharp. That's enough. William wasn't done. He pivoted toward Robert. You'll regret this. You think you can stroll in and take what's mine? Legal threats won't shield you. I have connections, lawyers, politicians. When I'm finished, you'll wish you'd stood up and moved. Robert met his stare. His reply was even. Is that a threat, Mr. Crane? I'm explaining reality, William said. People like me don't forget. We don't forgive, and we don't let people like you get away with disrespect. Those 3 words, people like you, rang down the aisle. Phones stayed up. The woman who'd been recording never lowered her camera. A soft, oh my God, floated from somewhere behind. Anger rose in Robert, not hot, but glacial. It had collected over years. Every dismissive comment, every doubtful glance, every door he opened only to be told to wait in the hall. He saw his mother in memory. 2 jobs, the late-night reminder. Twice as good to get half as far. She had been right. He saw himself walking into Boeing with an MIT degree and a start date, a supervisor pressing a mop into his hands. 3rd floor needs cleaning. He'd answered, I'm Robert. Propulsion design, starting today? And still waited while HR was called to prove he wasn't lying. He pictured grant equity, pitch tables where investors asked to meet the actual founder, negotiations that shifted only after he'd outmaneuvered them, boardrooms where his face was the only one like it, a billion-dollar firm built by persistence and results, and still a stranger felt entitled to his seat. He drew a slow breath. He looked from William to David to Joshua to the 2 officers who had come to remove him. I'm not moving, Robert said. Not from stubbornness, not as a stunt. If I move, I confirm a story that's been told to black people forever. That we don't belong. That we should take what's offered and be grateful. He paused. Not today. Micro turn. Question. What is a seat worth when the price includes your dignity? William barked a laugh. So now you're a martyr? A civil rights hero over 1 airplane chair. It's never just the chair, Robert said. Captain Stephen rubbed a hand over his face. Fatigue creased his voice. Last time, he said. Mr. Crane, if you don't hold that reservation, find another seat or leave the aircraft. Sir. A nod to Robert. You remain in 3A, that's final. William's eyes burned. I'm calling Christopher right now. He yanked out his phone. Speaker. The line trilled, once, twice. Mr. Crane, good afternoon. How can I help? A polished voice answered. Emily, put Christopher on. Mr. Donovan is in a meeting, but I don't care. Tell him William is on the line. There's a situation on one of his flights that he needs to handle personally. If he doesn't pick up, I'm pulling every dollar of corporate business from Patriot. A beat. Hold, please. The cabin leaned forward as if on a hinge. David and Joshua traded anxious looks. Stephen stood with his arms crossed, waiting. Robert's phone buzzed, a message from Barbara. Christopher just got briefed. He knows. Stay calm. This is about to get interesting. Micro turn. Image 2 phones on speaker, twin red timers, a cabin suspended between them. 30 seconds stretched into a minute. Then Christopher's voice came through William's phone. Controlled, a little tight. William, what's happening? I'm on Flight 447, San Francisco to New York. Your crew is refusing to give me the seat I requested. They're prioritizing some random passenger over me, over a platinum member. Please rewrite this part, but change more text according to the instructions I wrote at the beginning. The rewritten text must differ by 99% from the original, but retain the same meaning of the story. Robert looked out the window, his thoughts clouded. Most passengers wouldn't have understood what they were witnessing. Stephen turned to him, offering a handshake. Thank you. After a brief moment, he picked up the intercom mic. Ladies and gentlemen, due to a mechanical issue, we need to deplane for your safety. Alternative transportation will be arranged. The cabin filled with frustrated murmurs. Robert's phone buzzed, Christopher's name flashing on the screen. Robert, I heard you found a hydraulic leak. Is that right? Yes. Are you on Flight 447? The same one where they tried to kick me off? Yeah. The line went quiet. Christopher broke the silence. Oh my God, Robert, I can't fix your airline. Robert cut him off, hanging up. Stephen, still standing, looked at him shocked. You just ended that call. Before Robert could respond, the first officer stepped out of the cockpit. His eyes locked on Robert. Robert, Grant Equity. You own 18% of Patriot Airlines. Stephen's complexion paled. He seemed to take in Robert, the plain suit, the backpack, the seat Robert had nearly lost. You're a board member? That's about right, Robert replied, his voice even. A heavy silence settled over the cabin. David appeared from the galley and Ashen Joshua held her tablet tightly, staring at Robert. Without another word, Robert grabbed his backpack and walked toward the front. He stood before the passengers, his voice calm but firm. I'm Robert, CEO of Grant Equity. My firm owns 18% of Patriot Airlines. Today, I was discriminated against. I was asked to vacate my seat, one I paid for, because someone wealthier, someone white, wanted it. I was threatened with removal, told I didn't belong. But I stayed. And because I stayed, I saw something that could have killed all of us. He paused, meeting Stephen's eyes. Your captain did his job, but your crew thought I should be removed just to please someone they deemed more important. He turned back to the passengers. That's not how airlines should function. Your safety, your dignity, they shouldn't depend on your bank account or skin color. The young black woman in 4A began to clap, slowly at first. Then others joined in, until half the cabin was clapping. Robert gave a single nod before heading toward the exit. As he passed David, he stopped. David's face was pale, eyes glistening. I'm sorry, Robert. I didn't know. You shouldn't have to, Robert replied quietly. You should have treated me like a person, not based on my wealth or status. And with that, he stepped off the plane. 3 hours later, Robert sat in the executive lounge at San Francisco International, typing away on his laptop. Christopher approached, looking drained. Robert, we need to talk. Robert gestured to the empty chair. Christopher sat down with a weary sigh. I've been on the phone for 3 hours. The leak you found? It would have failed within 10 minutes after takeoff. Complete system failure at altitude. You saved 247 lives. Robert remained silent. I've gone through everything. Audio, video, passenger footage, your recordings. I've seen it all. Christopher paused. David and Charles are terminated, effective immediately. They violated the airline's anti-discrimination policy and passenger rights. Robert raised an eyebrow. What about William? He's banned from all flights and services permanently. His platinum status is revoked. All his accounts are closed. He tried to pull $300 million in business, but we don't want it, Christopher said firmly. Robert nodded in acknowledgement. This is all over social media. Passenger recordings are everywhere. 48 million views. Respect in the air is trending. We're being crucified, Christopher admitted. We deserve it, Robert said bluntly. Christopher leaned forward, his expression serious. How can we make this right? Robert closed his laptop slowly. You can't make it right. You can only do better from here on out. Tell me, how did your crew see me as a problem? As someone who didn't belong? That's not a training issue, it's a cultural one. Firing a couple of people won't fix it. Robert sat, his thoughts drifting. Every employee needs mandatory bias training, quarterly evaluations, audits that are independent, a real passenger bill of rights, a fund of $50 million for oversight managed by people outside your organization. Christopher reached out his hand. You have my word. $50 million for independent oversight, complete transparency. They shook hands. I'm sorry, Robert, Christopher said quietly. Not just as CEO, but as a person. He left the room. Robert remained seated, scrolling through Twitter. The videos had spread everywhere. Reactions were swift and fierce. The conversation had shifted from one flight to a larger discussion about power structures and who is believed. His phone buzzed. His mother's name appeared on the screen. I saw the video. Are you all right? I'm fine, Mom. Just exhausted. I'm so proud of you. Your father would be too. Robert stared at the message. His father, a mechanic who had passed away when Robert was 19, had spent his life working hard without gaining the respect he deserved. Robert had started Grant Equity partly as a tribute to him. Today, he had nearly been kicked off a plane, but he'd stayed, spoken out, and maybe, just maybe, things would change. A text from Barbara followed. The FAA has launched a full investigation into Patriot's inspection practices. You've sparked something big. Robert looked out the window at the planes below. He thought of the passengers who trusted the system to work, who believed it would keep them safe and treat them fairly. Too often, those systems failed people who looked like him. But today, he'd ensured they didn't fail everyone else. That had to count for something. 1 week later, Robert stood at a podium in Washington, D.C. at the National Aviation Summit. The room was full of airline leaders, FAA representatives, advocates, and journalists. He began speaking, his tone steady. A week ago, I was seated in 3A on a flight that never took off. I was asked to give up my seat for someone else who thought they were more important. He paused, allowing the room to settle. I refused. In response, I was threatened, insulted, and told I didn't belong. Security was called. He took another pause. But I stayed. And because I stayed, I looked out the window and saw a hydraulic leak that would have killed 247 people. He scanned the room, meeting the eyes of those present. I didn't save that flight because I'm a CEO. I saved it because I was there. I refuse to be erased. The silence in the room deepened. Every person has a right to dignity and respect, not because of their wealth or position, but simply because they are human. Dignity isn't something you earn. It's an inalienable right. The audience stayed still. What happened to me is not unique. It happens every day to people of color, to women, to anyone who doesn't fit the conventional image of who belongs. Most people don't have the means I have. They can't fight back. They endure. His voice softened. This must change. Not with empty promises, but through concrete action, accountability, and systems that protect everyone. Not just those who already have power. The room erupted in applause. People stood, clapping. Robert gave a small nod before walking off the stage. Backstage, a reporter approached. Mr. Grant, what do you want people to take away from this? Robert thought for a moment, then answered softly. That change is possible, that standing up matters. We all share the responsibility to ensure systems treat every person with dignity. He paused, then added quietly, That's powerful. It's simply the truth. 3 months later, Robert watched from his office as Patriot Airlines held a press conference unveiling its new passenger bill of rights. The $50 million fund had been established. Bias training was now mandatory. Independent auditors were conducting quarterly reviews. The FAA had strengthened inspection standards industry-wide. Christopher stood at the podium, flanked by civil rights leaders announcing the changes. It wasn't perfect, but it was a step forward. Robert's phone buzzed again. The young woman from 4A had flown with Patriot the day before. The flight attendant was respectful, no issues. Robert smiled. It mattered. It's not a small thing, it's everything. Robert looked out at the city, his thoughts on the passengers who were now in the air, simply trying to get home, hoping for fair treatment. Most would never know his name, but perhaps they would feel the impact of what one person who refused to give up his seat had done. Change doesn't happen through grand gestures. It happens in small moments, in decisions when people decide that enough is enough. Robert recorded a video and posted it on Twitter. If you witness injustice, don't look away. If you encounter discrimination, document it. Speak up. Not because it's easy, but because silence changes nothing. Your voice matters. Your human dignity matters. He paused and added, remember, respect is not dependent on status. It belongs to everyone, including you. He pressed send. Within an hour, the video had 500,000 views. The next day, 3 million people shared their own stories, their own moments when they stood up for others. The conversation continued. Somewhere on a flight from Los Angeles to Atlanta, the passenger in 12F was asked to give up her seat to a priority passenger. She took out her phone and started filming. No, I'm staying in my seat. The flight attendant froze, looked at the phone, then back at her. You are absolutely right. I apologize. Have a pleasant flight. Small moments. That's where it all starts. Will you stand your ground or stand up?